Despite a twisted rehabilitation attempt by the British bashing corporation that saw her become a magazine star and handed a podcast to claim she is not a monster, sanity prevailed today, justice was done, and the priority of our safety was for once put first. Shamima Begum will not return to the UK for now at least. That was the decision of the Special Immigration Appeals Commission, which rejected the ISIS terrorist legal challenge after MI5 insisted she still poses a major security risk. And surely there can no longer be any doubt about that. I've not been sucked in by the bid by the BBC and other hard-left organisations to convince us the teenager who left the UK to join ISIS after the most brutal beheading of Brits were broadcast to the world and then was reported to have helped sew jihadists into their suicide vests. I'm not convinced by the BBC that she is somehow now a victim. So tonight, I wanted to compare the real Shamima. This is Shamima before the BBC, before the PR campaign. I wanted to compare that Shamima to the new and improved, sanitised version. So watch this.
I don't regret it because it's changed me as a person. It's made me stronger, tougher.
I always, in the back of my mind, was like questioning my decision, but I knew there was nothing I could do about it, so I just had to keep like persevering and going on.
In the Manchester Arena, you must have heard about that attack. What did you think about that?
It's a two-way thing, really, because women and children are being killed back in the Islamic State right now.
I was in love with the idea of ISIS, so I just always made excuses for them.
Yeah, I will admit I was the one that made the choice. Even though I was only 15 years old, I could make my own decisions back there. I do have the mentality to make my own decisions.
I didn't feel British because I feel like I wasn't able to be British even though I wanted to be, if that makes sense. I didn't feel like I was accepted by society either because of racism and other things.
I saw a beheaded head in the bin.
In the bins?
Yeah, it's really bin.
What was that like when you first saw that? These are the heads of captives?
Yeah, didn't faze me at all.
I'm not a bad person. I'm not this person that they think I am being perceived as in the media. You know, I'm just so much more than ISIS, and I'm so much more than everything that I've been through.
Heads in the bins didn't faze her at all. I know the real Shamima Begum. No wonder Sajid Javid, the Home Secretary who made the decision, publicly declared he was convinced that keeping her out of the UK is the correct one.
I'm not going to get into details of the case, but what I will say is that you certainly haven't seen what I saw. Let me say this, I think if you did know what I knew, as I say, because you are sensible, responsible people, you would have made exactly the same decision. Of that, I have no doubt.
Javid stood by that position today. But the risk posed by our weak legal system has not gone away, with Mr Justice J today accepting that there was a, quote, credible suspicion that Begum was a victim of sex trafficking to Syria. He added that there was considerable force that the Home Secretary was unsympathetic to conclude Begum travelled to Syria voluntarily. Well, I reject that. Yes, she was 15 years old, but Begum knew exactly what she was doing when joining ISIS, as the MI5 witness told the trial. No one hoodwinked her. The only reason she's trying to come back now is because the despicable caliphate collapsed. Just imagine the consequences if Begum had won today. There would be a flood of dangerous jihadists back into Britain. The principles at stake are important, but so too is our safety. Growing numbers of British extremists are being drawn back to Syria to join jihadist groups. That's according to today's Daily Telegraph. Now, these traitors must know that they will never be able to return and could face life rotting at the Al-Raj camp in northern Syria alongside Begum. Though they deny it, Begum, and I feel sick about this actually, she's still using our so-called public service broadcaster to spread her propaganda, with the latest episode of her sick podcast this week continuing her futile bid for rehabilitation, expecting sympathy from us for the fact she fled with friends who went on to lose their lives.
It's just like a constant reminder, you know, that she could be alive today, but she's not. And in a way, it may be my fault. I don't know the word, but like if I had said, you know, I don't want to go to ISIS, guys, don't come either. Or if I had told the police the truth, maybe she would still be alive. You know, maybe we would have never gone to Syria. Maybe they would have never spoken to me again because they would see me as a snitch, but they'd still be alive. And that would be enough for me.
Diddums. Because what about the victims of the Manchester Arena bombing? What about Alan Henning and David Haynes? Begum doesn't give a damn about them. She never talks about them. Of course, her lawyers fought back outside court today by vowing the legal fight is, quote, nowhere near over. But the Home Office insisted the government's priority remains maintaining the safety and security of the UK, and we will robustly defend any decision made in doing so. They must, because any return by Shamima Begum marks a clear and present danger to Brits.